Hi, thank you for tuning in to the Moss Center's Dimensions Dance Theater of Miami Dance Talk in support of their performance on Saturday, November 12th. I'm Annie Hoffman. I'm the Education and Outreach Manager here at the Moss Center. This opportunity is brought to you with support of the Miami-Dade County Department of Cultural Affairs, the Board of County Commissioners, and the Office of the Mayor. I would now like to introduce our moderator, journalist Jordan Levin, who will introduce our distinguished panelists. Jordan?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jordan Levin, as Annie said. Little description of myself. I'm a white woman in late middle age with gray-brown hair, wearing glasses, against a bunch of posters and CDs. Our panelists, who will introduce themselves visually, are Erin Dew, former dancer with the Washington Ballet and repetiteur who taught Juanita y Alicia to Dimensions Dance Theater. Dimensions Dance Theater's Jennifer Kronenberg and Carlos Guerra, and choreographer slash dancer Yanis Eric Piqueres, and choreographer Jimmy Orante, who is doing is this your first piece for Dimensions, correct?
First full piece. They've done a potted of mine before.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. Why don't you give your visual descriptions when you speak, if that's okay with everybody? And Jennifer and Carlos, always great to talk to you. Tell us about the program. It's called Latin Voices. What's the idea? What's your purpose in this program, and why are you doing it now?
Well, to start with a visual description, I am a Caucasian woman. I'm not going to say my age, but middle age, I guess, is fair enough. Mid-length, brown hair, blue eyes. I have a light blue top on, and my handsome husband, Carlos, is sitting next to me. You can describe yourself.
Yeah, I am a male, white skin. I'm dark brown hair, and I'm wearing a black shirt sitting next to my wife, a co-director.
So we wanted to do this program, Latin Voices, obviously, because there are such deep Latin roots and Latin influence here in Miami, and we always think it's important to pay homage to that. And the audience always connects, I feel like, to that sort of theme within any production that's going on, but also to support artists with Latin roots and their voices in particular. And we feel like there's often a stereotype when you hear something like Latin Voices or Latin program or whatever, and automatically you expect that there's going to be salsa music or Latino music or some sort of cultural theme, and that's not necessarily so. I feel like Latin artists have a whole range of voices. I mean, it's like if you say, okay, an American choreographer needs to choreograph always to John Philip Sousa music. There's such a range, and I don't feel that that's supported enough or shown enough or respected enough. And so we really wanted to do that in this program, get 4 Latino artists choreographing as they wanted, to the music of their choice, to the theme of their choice, and still call it Latin Voices, because their inherent ethnicities just automatically influence the way that they work and their ideas and their choreography. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we wanted to support that out there in the public.
Yeah, also we would like the community to feel part of Dimensions, feel part of our dancers, I think it's a great program for the whole community to bring everybody together, and especially after the pandemic we would like the people to leave the theater very happy, with hope, and just after all that dark time that we passed through.
And how many of the dancers in Dimensions have always been Latino, and many of them Cuban? How many at this point, approximately?
Oh, goodness. I'm not sure, but I would say probably
More-
half,
or more
right?
than half, yeah. more or
Maybe
less,
three
yeah.
quarters, three quarters.
They're
Uh,
Cuban, Venezuelan, they're
Or Latin
different.
American,
Latin
you know.
American, we'll say.
Yeah. Yeah, language, it's confusing. Um, and I have to ask, I want to start with Juanita y Alicia, which is a wonderful ballet created by Cuban American choreographer Septime Webwere. Oh my God, I can't believe I stumbled over that. Who is director of the Washington Ballet and a choreographer, and connected to his Cuban roots in the 90s. And one of the results of that was this ballet. So Jen and Carlos, you presented this ballet at Dimensions Dance Theater's debut in 2017. And I remember, and if you're gonna, please forgive me, I'm gonna briefly read from my review because I loved the piece. I said that it was inspired by stories Webre's Cuban mother told about the family in Havana, could have been an exercise in Cuban nostalgia. Instead, it was an exuberant celebration of culture and spirit. The excellent 7-piece ensemble, Elaine Garcia and the Latin Power played classic Cuban son and boleros, firing up 10 dancers. Happily, there's very little cliche hip shaking. Instead, surging interwoven group dances capture a sense of playful community and energy. Why did you present it then, and why are you bringing it back now? Jennifer and Carlos.
Back in 2016, when we first opened, we were really looking, I think, to open with a bang and with a work that would set up the pavement for the company's identity, but also show that we were committed to representing Miami. And Cuban roots are in a big way the essence of Miami. And so we felt that that was a nice way, I think, to set foot onto the scene here locally. Plus Septime Weber. I mean, Septime is like this amazingly intelligent and imaginative choreographer, and to see this work in representation of his own family history was just really touching. And
it was very funny because when we start talking with the team about putting together a small group to do a performance, he was like, well, why don't you do a company? And I have the right ballet for you. Now you have no excuse, so you need to do it.
Yeah.
Juanita and Alicia, at that time, he was living in Washington Ballet. And now he's the actual director of the Hong Kong Ballet right now, which they just did this ballet in Hong Kong, I think, in January, I think. But yes, he gave us the ballet and he was like, here is my gift for you guys right now. So you have no excuse, just open the company and go with the bang.
And it was so well received the first time that we did it here in Miami. It was so well received when we did it in New York at the Joyce in 2018, that we knew we wanted to bring it back, and this just seemed like the perfect moment to do it.
Before we're lucky enough to have Erin Mahoney-Do here with us, who's been part of the ballet since the beginning. But I apologize, before we jump back into Juanita y Alicia, Giannis, Eric, and Jimmy, getting back to that question of when you say that somebody is Latino, or what it means if an artist is Latino and how that does or does not emerge in their work. So I think I'm correct in saying that both of you, although both of you are Latino, your work, the pieces that you have on this program are not overtly Latino. They're not set to Latin music. There's no folkloric or pop dances. So Giannis, Eric, for you, your father's Colombian, your mother's Cuban, you've always lived in Miami. Are you conscious of that in making work or not? Has it ever come up as an idea or something that somebody assumes about you or not?
Well, to start, I'm a white male in my now unfortunately late 20s, um, with brown hair, and I'm in front of a gray background. Um, I think for me, I don't look particularly Latino, so I feel like that's something that gets missed a lot. But I think that even though I'm not really inspired in the way to choreograph to Latin music or to choreograph things that are thematically Latin. That sort of like passion and that like love for music and that drive for music is something that I think is definitely very prevalent for me. But I don't know. I think that I've never been had the desire to choreograph something like Latin, but definitely like dancing something like Juanita Alicia, for example, like that Latin music and that Latin flair definitely is alive in there. And it does make me want to dance, and I do love it. So there's a balance.
Yeah. And Yanis Eric's pieces are always, thus far, very attached to and inspired by the music and structured often by the music. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that more than anything, the music is the biggest sort of drive for me. Like I never come up with an idea and then look for the music. It's always I find the music and then I'm like, okay, what can this be? Where can I go with this? So yeah, the music is always number one for me, like 100%.
And Jimmy, I'm meeting you for the first time. Please tell us about yourselves. What I found online is that you were dance with the Ohio Ballet. Is that right?
With Ballet Met, yes.
Ballet Met. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
In Ohio.
In Columbus, Ohio,
Ohio,
yes.
right?
Columbus.
For 20 years, and you've
Yes.
choreographer for a while now.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
I'm originally from Los Angeles. I'm a Mexican American, and I'm in my very late 40s now, and with silver lining on the sides and a little bit on top. I'm here in my corner of my house. But yes, my father was born in Mexico. My mother was born in Los Angeles, and we were raised in East Los Angeles. And then I moved to, from there, I moved to North Carolina to attend the North Carolina School of the Arts. And I danced with Nevada Ballet and with Memphis Ballet. And then I was here where I landed at Ballet Met, where I had a 20-year career with the company.
And in terms of your work, does your heritage, your family heritage, play any role or not? I mean, you've been a ballet.
I never thought about it, and I'm sure it does play a role. And like Yanis said, I've made actually one piece for Ballet Austin that had to do with my heritage and musicality and stuff like that. But most of my works don't, but I'm sure there are layers underneath that come out.
Right, yeah. There's a band, I'm blanking on the name, but in the early 2000s, there was a Mexican band, and they were like electronic, right? An EDM band, and they were super popular for a while. Interviewed them once for the Miami Herald, and the bassist told me, it's like, no matter what we do, it always sounds Mexican to us. And it didn't sound Mexican to me at all. It sounded completely, you could play it at a rave anywhere in the world. It was just such a interesting comment.
Nice.
But, so Juanita y Alicia, which is definitely very Cuban. Erin, you were dancing with the Washington Ballet when Septime made it, and you were with the company when it traveled to Cuba to perform it there.
Yes, that's right.
Tell us, what did Septime tell you all about the ballet, about what inspired it. Um,
Well, first of all, I'll be 44 on Friday. I'm a Caucasian female, dark curly hair, short curly hair, wearing a blue shirt, and I'm in my dining room in front of some Chinese murals that my husband brought back from China. So your question, yes, we went to Cuba and it was incredible. But first, let me talk about the process that Septime had us go through when choreographing. It was in the fall of '99, and he was just joining Washington Ballet. And he was telling us about his personal family history and how the cultural and political transformation in Cuba sort of affected his family and those kinds of stories. And they often would look at photographs, and you know, in any family, you look at a photograph, it comes with a story, and then that leads to other stories. And so nostalgia was a big part of it, and humor too. And he asked us to draw on our own family experiences and our own family history so that we could relate to it. And because in every culture, that's there. And so we choreographed the piece in that way. And then when we took it to Cuba, oh my goodness, it was the most incredible experience I've had. The audience was better than any audience I've had in the States. I mean, it was like going to a baseball game. The crowd went wild. I mean, they were packed. I mean, in the aisles, on people's laps. It was crazy. And the power went out twice. We didn't finish the show until like after midnight, but everybody stayed until the very end. Juanita was the last one on the show, on the program. And everyone stayed till the end, standing ovation, just, I mean, tears. We were all like, this is incredible. It was just the most amazing experience. We loved it.
I'm fortunate enough to have been to Cuba several times, and while I've never seen the Ballet Nacional, I know how passionate, I'm sorry if it's a cliche, but how incredibly enthusiastic Cuban audiences are. And I've heard from many people that ballet audiences, you know, we think of classical dance audiences as being rather reserved. They're not like that in Cuba. You know, they're like sports fans. They're
Yes.
crazy. So it sounds like Septime telling you to use your own family memories and stories might have made you feel at home with it, even though you are not Cuban or Latina. Did it?
Yes, yes, of course. I mean, he told us some of his stories. You know, there was a funny one about his, well, just the one about his family pushing furniture to the side and then just dancing to the music, you know, so this music is very close to his family. And then his uncles they lived in a dormitory, and they would go and sort of get into trouble and be naughty, or just, you know, have fun and play around. So he gave us those stories, and then he asked us to relate some of our family histories. And it was great because, like you said, yes, it helped us relate to it. I never, it's interesting that you mentioned that I'm not Latina. It was never a thing. You know, I was just a dancer trying to make sure that I could bring Septime's vision to life. And so you always draw on your own experiences in any piece that you're doing. And the music, excuse me, the music is so driving. How can you not feel anything when you hear that music? So the piece is so musical. The choreography is so musical. You just can't help but be in it.
Erin, for you, and also Yanis, Eric, for you, what is it like to be on stage with a live Cuban band? That music is so irresistible. And you're right. I mean, it'd be like you're right up there, right up there with them. What's that like?
there's definitely an extra energy. I mean, you've got these other performers on stage, you're feeding off of each other with that energy. I mean, there's nothing like it.
Giannis, Eric?
Yeah, I agree. I think live music for any ballet is incredible and adds like another level of energy to it, but especially with this kind of music and that choreography, like it makes it so much fun to dance because it's a very difficult ballet, but that music just makes it kind of the biggest joy in the world. So yeah, it's incredible to have live music.
Aaron, what kinds of things in working with Dimensions dancers, how do you translate your experience with Septime in teaching them the piece? How do you go about teaching them the piece? And I'm also curious about if there was any difference in doing it the first time and now that you've returned.
Mhm. There's I always, anytime I set a piece, I like to try to give background just so they understand where it's coming from, because that kind of original information always helps. Things as it goes down the line sort of gets lost in translation over the years, and you try to bring back the original feeling. So I would tell them as many little anecdotes as I could, even the silly ones that would happen in rehearsal, just so they felt the camaraderie of the piece. Since it was 2007, 16 or 17 that we did 16.
16.
And so it's a few of the dancers are different. There's many of the original dancers, some are new. So the old guard, as I'll call them, they already know the style of the piece, so they can sort of translate it for the new dancers, so they can see how to manage it and how to. It's all classical ballet, but it's someone's style, right? Septime style versus, say, you see a piece, you recognize it as a Balanchine piece, or you see a piece and you recognize it as a Taylor piece. It definitely has a style. So the dancers have to get into that style. And then once they understand a few phrases, then they get into the life of it. And so the old dancers sort of help the newer ones get into that. But it's always been easy. I mean, Dimensions dancers are wonderful. It's always a pleasure to work with them. And they just dive right in, and we have fun. My style is let's enjoy the rehearsal process, but get the work done. So it's always a pleasure.
Carlos, you told me back when when the company first did this piece that you and Alain Garcia, who leads the band that'll be performing on the program, were friends back in Cuba. Can you tell us about that?
Oh my God, Alain Garcia, me, yes, we have a long history because we started in Cuba in the same School of the Arts in Cuba. I was in ballet, he was in music. So, but in the academics, we were in the same class together. So since we were 10 years old, and we spent our years there in the school. Then after I graduated, I went to the Ballet Camagüey. Then I left Cuba, I went to Chile. Then Alain went to Spain. And then after many years, it was amazing to find each other back here in Miami together. And since then, after when we opened the company, or before we opened the company, we always thought that it would be amazing to do some kind of collaboration again, and so it's been great to collaborate with him, and having, on stage with our guys and playing there. Also, there are other musicians as well that they were part of our class as well. So it's really exciting. It's amazing.
Giannis, Eric, and Aaron. Sorry, go ahead, Jennifer.
I was saying that it's funny because it seems like all roads lead back to Miami. There's so much reuniting that happens here in Miami. I know even Septime has family here in Miami that we were united with apart from him. That's a story maybe for later or another day, but but that's Miami. Miami is just that kind of place.
If you have any connection to Cuba or to, I don't know, immigration from almost anywhere in Latin America, you can probably find a thread in Miami that you'll connect with. Yeah, it's that kind of place. I call it the most American city in the United States. Jimmy, please tell us about Balanced. It's a really intriguing title.
Well, yeah. I think I can't remember for sure. I think it was in 2016 I created the work. And it's a work in 7 sections. And within these sections, I wanted to bring an awareness and a sensitivity, not just to the dancers, but to the audience about how we relate to each other and how we keep each other in balance, and not just literally on stage, but off stage as well. So I wanted to create 7 different kind of small scenarios where I show different groupings and how we do that with each other. And the music it's intimate, it has this sensitivity, it has this softness to it. And it was music that when I heard it suggested choreographic steps, and it's something that I thought I could create too.
Who is the music by?
It's a compilation of different pieces.
But what kind of music? What style?
There's a little bit of I can't remember them right now, all 4 of them. But it's violin and cello and piano and.
So classical?
Yes.
And can you talk a little bit more about what you said, balance, not just in the studio and on stage, balance in a dance sense, but can you talk about the life scenarios for balance?
Yes, like for me, I mean, just bring it to myself, I'm kept in balance by my 3 kids and by my wife, and by my family support, and I think that's how we are, even though we don't really recognize it, but when we stop to think about it, that's who we kind of are, who we are, is by the people that we're surrounded by. And especially dancers, dancing is not easy, and there has to be a support, especially in the studio amongst ourselves with each other.
That's a beautiful metaphor image, right? Especially for women, the way balance is so playing with balance, being challenged by balance is so integral to all dance, but especially for ballet. And it's a beautiful metaphor. Yanis Eric, this is, how many pieces have you done now for Dimensions?
This would be the 6th.
The 6th, and you did the first one when you were how old?
Wow.
None of us are going to feel sympathetic for you. Okay,
2018. I was maybe 25, 4. I don't know. That's a great question. I have no idea.
So 6 pieces in just a few years, that's a lot.
Yeah.
What has that done for you as a growing choreographer, to have this platform, to keep creating and to develop? Especially amongst, I mean, because you dance with the company, so you also get to work with people really, really well. So what's that been like for you, this process, this 6-piece process?
I think that's the best part, I think, is being able to choreograph on people that I'm not only working with, but I'm also friends with. So there's that level of understanding and respect and, friendship in the class. In the rehearsal. It's a friendly environment. I feel like that's always been very conducive to creating with this group of people. That's been the most amazing part. And to have 2 people, Jen and Carlos, who are so supportive and pretty much let me do something. Let me pretty much do whatever I want in that sense, where they trust me creatively and trust that I'm going to deliver something that is hopefully good. And yeah, I think it's a very great relationship here for that, and I think that translates into the pieces that I make.
Does it give you confidence knowing that you can try things out, knowing that you have this base? Does that help?
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. I feel I don't feel like the same level of stress as I would maybe, or anxiety as I would maybe choreographing on a group of people I didn't know, or for people who don't know me as well, or I think it's definitely there's a lot of trust here, where I feel very free to kind of try things out, try something different, see how it goes. Yeah, I think it's just there's a lot of trust here, and it's really great. It's a great relationship.
So I've always been fascinated by this whole situation because Yanis Eric's, I keep repeating this, Yanis Eric's father is Yanis Bekevis, who was one of the original lead dancers with Miami City Ballet, and he and his wife and dance partner Maria Elena Mencia, I got that right, yes, have their own company and school, which is really a base and a partner for Dimensions. So you have all these generations and layers of Miami dance and Miami ballet between the three of you. And I love that Dimensions supports that. Jennifer and Carlos, what did you see in Yanis Eric that made you decide to give him a chance to choreograph?
Well, we saw that he was very talented and he's passionate for choreographies. So we started giving him the opportunity, and every choreography that he was doing we could see how he was growing, his talent was growing, and how comfortable he's getting choreographing now. So it's been a very interesting journey watching him, grow as time passed, and as he keep doing choreographies. It's been really great.
Yeah, I think we first saw him.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. If I was just, what did you see him doing? Was he just trying stuff out? Were you about to say that, Jennifer? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we saw him working on a piece that he was doing for Miami Youth Ballet with the students. And I think we were both kind of fascinated by his talent, and you could see his vision immediately and how he moved people around the stage, and how it just kind of flowed out of him. Like he didn't stop to think, and it was just coming. It was just kind of, and I was like, wow, this is something that has great potential to be amazing if given the platform to do so. And we really think that it's important to support that on a regular basis. So we try, sometimes we can't do it on every program, but we try as regularly as possible, at least once a season, to give him the opportunity to do something, because that's the only way I think that the development is going to be consistent on an upward trajectory. And, not every piece is going to be a masterpiece. That's okay. It's not, it doesn't make it any less valid, or his voice at that time any less valid, or the theme of what he's doing any less valid. But with each piece, he learns something, and we learn something, and the dancers learn something. So in that respect, I feel like every time he creates a piece for us, the entire organization grows from it in one way or another. I know that there's some that he's done that he's not been super happy with, right? And we like them. We like them. Maybe they weren't his best work, but they were his work, and they served. They served the company. They served the program. They served the purpose, and they served as a learning tool for the next. And that's kind of where we are right now as a company. We're only 6 years old. And so we're very much learning from our mistakes in every way, in all aspects. And And this is just a part. This is a big part of the picture, the total picture of what the organization is, I feel like.
It's been very interesting to see how the dancers also react since when he started first choreographing, and now that he has done several pieces for us, the respect that they, it's interesting to see how friends they are outside of the studio, but when he's in the studio choreographing with them, it's really interesting to see how the respect that they showed to him towards his choreography and whatever he's asking them to do. So it's really, it's wonderful.
It's also nice that he's here and able to revisit certain works because they're all living pieces of art. And so each time we do them, maybe they're a little bit different. They're not exactly the same as they were before. And that's also part, I feel like, of the growing process.
It's wonderful. It's so wonderful to hear you talk about that and thinking of this as a process and part of the company growing and having the patience to give Giannis Eric the chance to grow and for the company to grow. And you both remember working with Jimmy Gamanet de los Heroes, right? Who was for many years Miami City Ballet's resident choreographer. And if you had the chance to work with him over a period of time, he got to know you, you got to know him, and you could grow in the work you did together. And that's.
And even Jimmy's work evolved over time. You know, when I first joined Miami City Ballet, it was not even 10 years old. And I danced Jimmy's ballets for years. And every time he created, there was something new about what he was doing and an evolution. And we could see that as dancers. I'm sure the audience saw it as well. So it's very important, I feel like, for choreographers to have that consistent platform.
And speaking of Latin voices that are not a cliche, some of Jimmy's works had overtly Latin cultural themes like Carmen or the House of Bernarda Alba, but many were purely neoclassical. And he did the swing piece, right? Based on American swing dance. So again, it's a really wonderful thing about this program. Even in Miami, people can do the thing like, oh, it's Latino, it's going to be salsa or bachata or cumbia. It's going to have whatever hats and colors and be sexy. And that's just a part of culture and of who people are and of who people are and may want to be as artists. So you build, even here, I think you build appreciation and a sense of depth for the many dimensions that it is to be Latino, like it is to be a part of any culture. So Giannis Eric, tell us about your piece. Please.
Very briefly, because I'm still choreographing it.
Oh, all right.
But no stress. It was commissioned by a very dear friend of ours, someone who's supported Dimensions since the beginning, but also was a huge supporter of Maximum Dance. And her name is Sharon Asbell. I knew her growing up from Maximum Dance. She was always around. I knew her daughter. She worked in our offices for a while. She came to me with this music. It's a Jewish prayer called Avinu Malkeinu. And yeah, and so we found this really beautiful instrumental version of it that's gorgeous. It's for a piano and a violin. And she wanted to give us something, and so she was really excited about me doing something for the company through her, and she came with this idea. And yeah, and so she shared with me that her earliest memory as a child in synagogue, hearing that prayer being played or sung, was her father holding her hand through the whole thing, and she always had this memory, and that touched me more than anything. So I kind of am going with this. It's abstract, but I do have that theme of that relationship between her and her father that I thought was very touching when she shared it with me. So yeah, I'm excited. It's still being worked on. We're still figuring out, but that's where we are right now. And yeah, and it feels very special. I think just my relationship with her, knowing her for so many years, and what she shared about her father, and you know, I think it's really special. So I'm very excited for it.
I love,
Sharon,
go ahead.
sorry, I had my volume down. I didn't realize.
Mhm.
I think Sharon had been speaking with us for a while about commissioning a work. She really wanted to commission something in her sister's memory, dedicated to her sister. And I think it took a little while to get the idea together, to get the right music together, to get the timing right. And so we're really happy that finally we're able to do this.
It's wonderful. Does the version of the song you're using have words, or is it instrumental?
It's instrumental only, which is funny because originally when we discussed it with her, she really wanted a vocalist to be singing. And then when she heard the instrumental version that Yanis Eric found, she fell in love with it.
Yeah.
It's really touching and emotionally moving. So
It was interesting to see her face as she was listening to the music. She started crying. So it was very special to see that, you know, from her. Like she really felt the music there.
So I'm Jewish, but I became acquainted with that song when my daughter who's now 18, was tiny and was going to Tot Shabbats as a toddler. And they used to sing that song, and I started going to services. And it's this beautiful song I'm going to be very general here. You're asking God, you know, hold me up, you know, we need you, we need your support, you know, hold us up, answer us, you know, we depend on you. There's something very, it's just a beautiful melody and beautiful sentiments. And I don't think you need the words to understand the feeling that's in it. And Hold My Hand, although I admit I thought of the Beatles briefly, is a nice way to convey the feeling of the prayer, really. Jimmy, can you tell us anything more about your the vignettes, the balances that you show in your piece?
Yeah, I have different pairings. There's group sections. There's a women's duet. There's a pas de deux in it. There's a solo for a man who struggles with being kind of boxed in and doesn't want to be put in this certain situation. So I have very different scenarios going on. And there's a quartet where they're all supporting each other, three men and one woman. Like I said, it starts with the group section, ends with the group section, and in between I have different pairings of different numbers of dancers.
But can you say anything more about, you talked about you're thinking of different kinds of balance on stage and off.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about one of the off stage balances that you were thinking of, like
just
emotionally or psychologically.
Just normal every day. It could be a relationship between a couple, or it could be a person who's going through a hard time, or it can be a person who needs group support. So those what I was thinking. That's what I was trying to translate onto the stage.
So community and family.
Yes, community, family, friends. Yes.
On the other hand, what else is there?
Yeah. And sometimes, sometimes someone's searching for that and they can't find that either. So that's what the man's short solo was about, was kind of being boxed in and can't figure out how to get out of this square that they're in.
So in a way, all of these pieces have themes of community and family in different ways, no?
Mm-hmm.
Juanita y Alicia, family memories, family stories. And I remember in the ballet that what something that emerges is a feeling of community and connection. And what you've just talked about, Jimmy and Yanis Eric, this connection this woman had to her father through Jewish ritual, a Jewish community ritual. So look at that. I imagine you didn't plan it, but it's there. And in an abstract, I don't know if you would find that in a typical classical ballet program. I think they tend to be more abstract, more about the music, more about ballet traditional structures or stories. So maybe that's something that's distinctive about this program that comes from it being a Latin Voices program. What do you think? I just came up with this.
I agree in a big way, and just, I mean, I'm not Latin, but I'm married to one, and family and community is such an intrinsic part of the Latino culture, no matter where you're from, if it's Cuba, if it's Mexico, if it's Venezuela, wherever. Family and community are such a large part of being Latino. And that does translate to so many other ethnicities, so many other cultures that everybody can relate, and definitely to what Miami is all about. And there is that underlying theme in every single one of the ballets on the program. And there are stories, even in the most abstract seeming work, there's a story. Something interesting about Balanced, seeing it from the front, Jimmy talks about how we all balance each other out and support and the relationships. A lot of the partnering work and the balancing out that's done is from behind, and not in the sense that the man is behind the woman doing pirouettes, but she'll fall off balance, or another gentleman will fall off balance, and someone else will catch them or support them, almost like that the person being supported doesn't realize that they're there. And that's so typical of life. There are people and support systems holding you up every day that you're not necessarily aware of when it's happening, until they let go or until they're not there. And then, oh, wow, I do need that support. So that's definitely something we see throughout Jimmy's work.
And I think it's especially important for immigrants, right? Because when you come to a new country and you have to start over, learn a new language, learn a new culture, you fall back on family and people from your culture, right? It's just, it reinforces those needs, that sense of community, that sense of family, of how central that is. Immigrants need that. And I think they remind us, we who were born in this country, and who take a lot of things for granted, how important those things are and how wonderful those things are. So it's, beautiful to see that represented on stage. Even if people aren't, I doubt people are going to come away from this program thinking that, but I think they're going to have an impression of warmth and depth and the connection that the figures on stage have to each other in a different way. Erin, I want to tell, since we're telling stories, can you tell us any more of the stories that Septime told you? The stories that his mother told him, or maybe a story, a family memory that you came up with to reinforce your own performance?
Well, it was 99, and that seems so long ago. So I can't, the two that I told you about, his family, they're two that really stuck out that I remember. They would shove the furniture to the side and just dance together, and then his uncles being mischievous. But I know with my family, I was lucky enough to be very close to both sets of grandparents. They were still around for a long time. And I remember going to my grandmother and granddaddy's house, and they loved jazz music. And so we would listen to Lena Horne and Ella Fitzgerald and, just amazing singers. And he even taught us how to jitterbug. And so I just remember that sort of, and I loved looking at, they would break out the photo album, now you look at your phone at your history of photos, but, and he would tell us funny stories, sad stories, just of the people that were in those photos. And I felt connected to my family, my ancestors, my relatives. And I love that. I felt I think it's important to have that connection to your family, just to make you as a person. I just feel like your values, your who you are, your what you draw on for strength. And I loved hearing those stories because one would inevitably lead to another story, and we would just sit there for hours talking. I'm sorry, my bird is making noises. I hope it's not too loud. And even now, Facebook is famous for sending me those memories from years ago. And so I'll see photos of my own daughters, their cute little baby faces. And there's usually a picture, a memory, a story that comes with that. So I would show them and then tell them the story. And that's just life, I feel. Nostalgia is a big part of us as people. And we hold those things dear to us. And so it's super, super relatable, I think, for anyone that dances in the ballet or sees it.
I wish I had. You're lucky to have those stories. I don't, for various reasons, I don't have that kind of connection to my grandparents. So you're lucky to have that.
I do feel lucky, yes. Yeah.
Losing Jennifer for a minute. I'm going to tell one story. It's not a family story. I think we may be winding up soon, about Cuban audiences, which is, I was in Cuba in 1999, actually, to cover a big music event. And a Cuban American friend brought me to a Cuban baseball game. And he snuck us in, I don't know how, through the stadium. And so we just sort of burst, there was no preview. We came into the middle of the game, right down on ground level on the field. And I had never seen anything like it. It was just pandemonium. The whole stadium was screaming and cheering and on their feet. Oh, wait, let me finish the story. Each team had a band, right? A live band playing simultaneously with dancers, and the crowd was stomping and screaming and singing along. I would like in the middle of a fireworks display. And when the Havana team won, and I thought the stadium was going to collapse, people were stomping and singing coming down stage. It was so Cuban audiences. They're the bomb. Carlos, is Elaine going to join us?
Yes, Alain, 1 second here.
Right.
We are about to start the rehearsal for the first time with the orchestra.
Oh my God.
See? Nice to meet you, everyone.
Hola. ¿Este es Elaine?
Yes, that's Alain.
Elaine.
Good morning.
Hola, Elaine. Te pregunto algo.
¿Te quiere preguntar algo?
Yes.
Let's move out from here. 1 second. Yes. You can go ahead.
Okay. Elaine,
Yes.
¿estás aquí? Elaine,
Alain.
¿cómo es tocar con tu amigo Carlos aquí en Miami en el escenario con bailarinas tremendas?
Bueno, ya no es la primera vez ya, pero no deja de ser maravilloso porque aparte del arte nos une una hermandad, una amistad de hace muchos años y no solo mía. We are brothers. We student how many years?
Oh my God, since 10 years old, and many, and now we are in our 40s. Now we're becoming almost grandparents. So it's really amazing that we're still connected. And also we have another musician on the band.
Yes.
Karen
Sanchez too. We are friends to 10 years.
Yeah, since we were in the school together, imagine.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. He's coming, he plays the bass on the band.
Oh,
So it's
Robert.
and he's and
Que nosotros
this is
nos están haciendo la pregunta de
Consuegra.
cómo nos sentimos.
He used to be a teacher from the school, from the art school. So it's amazing also to have him here.
He's a trumpet. He's trumpet and bass player.
And Carol Carol was in the same class with Alain and me. So it's good to to have them together and collaborating together now.
oh my God, this is beautiful. The Cuban crew. Oye, chicos, hey guys, what is it like to play on stage with such incredible dancers? ¿Cómo es tocar en un escenario con bailarines tan
Amazing. It's amazing.
Te inspiran? Do they inspire you?
Yes, of course. Of course, yes.
It's something mutual, they inspire us, so we inspire them. So it's great. It's a beautiful process that we can all get together, in the studio, and the dance can be together with this Latin music and all this bolero. So it's really amazing. And we are about to start rehearsal now. So
And I bet the post-show party is going to be the bomb.
there will be, guys, do you want to show a little something there quickly?
Yes.
Just for you guys to listen a little something. They're gonna play something for you. They're gonna play something little for you.
Okay. We're gonna go out with a little bit of music. Thank you, Yadis Eric. Thank you, Aaron.
Sí, todo. Sí.
A little music preview of Juanita y Alicia from Alain Garcia and the Latin Power. As the famous Cuban bolero.
Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. I know after that music, we're all really, really excited about the show. Thank you so much to our moderator, Jordan Levin, and to our panelists for participating in this incredible dance talk. Tickets for the in-person Dimensions Dance Theater of Miami performances at the Moss Center on Saturday, November 12th at 8 p.m. are available now. So please visit mosscenter.org to get your tickets. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
See you at the theater.
Thank you.